Hi, and welcome to Candyland Crafts. My name is Susan from Chef Suze, and I'll be your instructor today. I'm showing you how to make this really cute baby cake. It's a great little baby shower cake, or just a fun cake to do during the summer. If you order your kit through candylandcrafts.com, you'll receive 3 5-inch cakes, buttercream, a pastry bag, a round tip, 2 gel colors, one in yellow and one in black, 3 fondant, satin ice fondants, one in white, black, and yellow. We use those to make those little bees. And also a decorative cake board that's underneath this cake right now. The only other things you'll need, I'm sure you have most of them in your kitchen already, would be a bowl, a spatula, a scissor, an offset spatula. If you don't have an offset spatula, I wouldn't worry about it. You can use a butter knife. This might make it a little bit easier, but butter knife is fine. A paintbrush, paring knife, a rolling pin, or any type of jar, something without any ridges in it, because we're only using this to do the front door of the beehive. Toothpicks, which I always have on hand, as well as a little bit of powdered sugar. And that would really be all you need for the kit. Some other options that you may want to upgrade to would be these fun luster and disco dusts. And I'm not sure if you could see it in the light, but they really just give it a little extra sparkle and a little bit of light. So if you have any questions, definitely let us know through Candyland Crafts or through Chef Suze. So I hope you enjoy this class. Please send us your pictures, tag us, comment, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can with any questions you may have. Thanks, and have a lot of fun. Okay, we're going to start off with our yellow food coloring. A little bit goes a long way. For this cake, you do want it nice and bright yellow. So I'm going to put a couple of drops in there and just give that buttercream a stir. You want to make sure the buttercream is not too warm, especially when you'll see when we're piping the rings around the cake. It definitely has to be a more firm consistency. So just stir that in so you have nice consistent color. You don't have any white streaks coming through. We'll just speed it up. Now you're going to take your pastry bag and you're going to fold a nice big cuff into that pastry bag. Sorry, I'm a little out of camera view. This way your hands stay nice and clean, your pastry bag stays clean, it's easy to hang on to, it doesn't slip around. You're going to place the buttercream inside the bag. As I show you later in this video, we do put the tip in the bag. I did not put the tip in the bag the first time, so I do it again, but you may want to put your pastry tip in before you even start filling it the first time. It's always easier to refill the bag with the tip already in. So you're just going to give your bag a little jiggle to get that buttercream down into the bottom. You want to make sure you get rid of as many air pockets as possible. So I'm just putting a lot of buttercream in this bag, especially when we start doing the rings, because we want to be consistent and be able to keep going. So just give that a jiggle. Twist the top of the bag, making sure there's no air pockets. So just give it a little tap. And you can see here where I don't have the tip in, we're just going to put that on the side. Then we're going to take our decorative board. We don't need a smaller board. It's fine just right on this decorative board. We want to take the top hump off of all these cakes. So you want to take a look at them, and you want to keep two of them we're going to take, we're going to level them, but one of them we want to keep a little bit of a hump on the top because it'll be the top of the beehive. So just take a bread knife and just slice off the top so it's nice and straight. Keep those crumbs because they make great cake pops. And then you're going to center it on the board, but the best thing to do is to turn it upside down because you'll have an even flatter surface. And it should have enough stickiness on the cake to stay on the board. If not, you can put a little buttercream underneath for acts as a little glue. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut the pastry bag. In this case, hopefully you have the tip in there. You didn't do what I did and have to refill a second bag with a tip. And we're just going to, the reason why I like the pastry bag for doing the interiors of the cake, it enables you to get the exact same amount, a nice thin layer, because this cake has a lot of buttercream on the outside. So you want to make sure that the inside there's just a little bit of buttercream. You're going to do all the layers. I've already cut the top off of this one. And then the top one, you'll see you want a little bit of that hump on there. Then you're going to take your bread knife and you want to make a nice dome. So just start out conservative and kind of come around the cake and just cut off. And again, save all those crumbs because they are wonderful in cake pops. And just keep turning the cake and trimming until you get the beehive that you are happy with. Of course, I trim and trim and trim and trim. Sometimes I get a little too carried away. Now that you have that nice and trim, you want to put a crumb coat on there. So again, you take your pastry bag and just put a light crumb coat. This does not have to be perfect by any stretch. You just want to make sure that any of the raw cake areas, when you do use your offset, you kind of wiggle back and forth a little bit, not to pull any of that cake off. And just cover all those crumbs. And then after that, we're going to set this in the refrigerator for a while so that it firms up the crumb coat. Okay, now we're going to take our fondant. We have our three colors, a little bit of shortening. We're going to make that cute little bee. A little bit of water. We have the paintbrush, toothpick, and also a tweezer may help you as well. We have all three colors ready to go. And we want to make sure that we do black last because it really can get your hands black and you don't want it to get on the white or even the yellow. So we're going to just break this into odd sizes. If you wanted to have all your bees the same size, you would do it the same size, but I kind of have a little family of bees going on. And then just take your fondant, roll it into like little sausages with almost a little point on the end. Make sure you have no little creases in there, and that's where you could use the shortening just to give it a little bit of elasticity and so it doesn't dry out. Next, you want to get your little wings. You want to get that ready before you touch the black. So you're just going to pinch off 2 small pieces. Again, cover that in plastic wrap because it does dry out rather quickly. So then we're just going to, I'll just put these off to the side. Then we're just going to take our black fondant, pinch off a little piece. We're going to make the little stripes on the bees and also, of course, the eyes and a little smile. I'm going to show you a few different ways to do the little face. But the first thing we'll do is we will do the little stripes. Again, wrap up that fondant. Just take a small amount, taking two little pieces, tiny pieces to do the eyes. You could do big bulgy eyes or little tiny eyes. And I'm also going to show you how to paint the eyes on as well if you just like to do those little sleepy eyelashes. We'll just, again, put those off to the side. And now you're going to take this other piece of fondant. You're going to roll it into just a long snake. I take a little bench scraper, a little plastic bench scraper, and I roll back and forth. You can do this with your hand as well. It's just that this makes a very even little tube there that you're then going to cut your little bee stripes with. So just a little bit of pressure, and there you go. Of course, I fiddle with it for quite a while just to get that perfect little bee stripe. And again, you don't have to use the bench scraper. You could just use your fingers. And of course, you could have these little bee stripes as thin or as thick as you'd like, and depending on the size of the bee as well. So now I'm going to take my paintbrush and just a tiny bit of water. You don't want to use too much because the black will bleed onto the yellow. And just put a very thin stripe. Take your black fondant and just carefully place it over the bee. And then you can go underneath and attach it on the bottom. Just pinch it off on the end. And you can put that little seam together on the bottom. Give it a quick little tap just to kind of push it into the fondant a little bit. Then you're going to do the same thing on the back of the bee for his second little bee stripe. Again, not using too much water. You could put 3 stripes if you'd like. In this case, I've only done 2. You got to make sure that black gets on your hands. You want to make sure your fingers are clean and wipe off that black fondant before you touch the white or the yellow. So now we're just going to give him little eyes. This guy's going to have a little bit of bulgy eyes. So we're just going to put a dab, 2 dabs of water. And then you can either use a toothpick, or here I'm using the tweezer just to get the eyes where I'd like to get them. Do the other eye. And just, you could even put them a little crooked if you want them looking silly. And here I'm going to do a little fondant, little smile, but again, I'll also show you how to paint a little face on your bee. I'm just taking a little extra piece of fondant. Here I can show you, kind of molded it a little bit into a smile. Again, it's very tiny. So you can also take a toothpick. You can do it with your fingers, or sometimes I'll use a toothpick to get in there to make that little curve. Dab of water. Again, be very, very light on the water because you don't want that black to bleed. So here's where I go in with the toothpick and just make it a little bit more of a happy smile. And there you can see that. It's hard to see this on camera, sorry about that, because they're such tiny pieces, but you can just pop that on there. You could even give them a little mustache if you'd like. It is a cartoony cake, so have fun with it. And then just take that toothpick and put that exactly where you want. Then on the eyes, it's always nice to make them a little more realistic, to take the tiniest little bit of white and just make a little ball out of that. You want 2 of those. And on the same part of the eye, make sure it's the same part. I have it in the upper corner. You just take that little white piece of fondant and just pop that up there, push it in a little bit, and do the same thing for the other eye. And it gives them a little bit more character. You could even make him cross-eyed, as if he had too much honey, whatever you like. And this is where the tweezer comes in very handy, because you could place it where you want it and then just press it down. The next thing we're going to do are the bee's wings. So you want to have these about the same size, and you could do different sizes, but on each bee I would have the same size, because the little baby one in the front has little tiny wings. This one, I will make the wings a little bit bigger. Just kind of push everything all together there. Now you're going to just make a little ball with the white fondant and kind of pinch the end. I'll move everything over so you can see a little bit better. And a little bit of powdered sugar or cornstarch. And then just kind of press it down. When you pick it up, pinch one corner of it. And depending here, you can make it as thin as you like or as thick as you like. Do the same thing with the other wing. And just put a nice little point on the end. Whoop, we lost an eyeball. Just put that back where it belongs. Now we're going to take the toothpick, and wherever you'd like those wings to sit, you want to put a pretty decent size hole. As you can see, I'm rolling around the toothpick a little bit. And then I'm going to put a little bit of water in there, just so that when we put the wings in, they do stay. And you just pop your wings in there. Take your toothpick. That'll help you get that tip of the wing into the hole. And then do the other side. This is also where you could use the luster dust to put on the bee's wings. It just kind of gives them a little extra sparkle, like they're in the sun. And just make sure they stick in there. Just, of course, I will play with it a little bit. And there's your second little bee. And you could just go on and make all different sizes, shapes. This one I've done already, and I'm just going to show you using your black gel color, you're going to use it as a paint. So just give it a shake, and I just go right out of the cap. I don't go into the actual bottle. And if you have a paintbrush, the finest paintbrush, the finest tip you could find is best for this. You just dip it in the paint. I just want to tap off a little bit of it. I want to check my line on the countertop. And then just, you can ever so slightly dab off a little bit of the extra paint, and then go on and make your little sleepy eyes and your little smiley face. I went a little bit of crooked on that one because I'm trying to, it's easier when I'm looking straight at it than when I'm trying to do it for the camera. So that's one thing you can do. You can also, on this one, I decided to give this little bee some nice, strong, pretty eyelashes. So I'm just going to run my little eyelash line, and then just come on down with a couple little eyelashes. This one's a little bit heavy. I probably should have taken a little bit more paint off of the tip of the brush, but you get the picture. And then just a cute little smiley face. So have fun with your bees. You could really do a lot of different characters. And make as many as you'd like. We just have one more that we'll do. Now we're going to take the black fondant again, and we're just going to make our little doorway to the beehive. So you're just going to roll out the black fondant. You definitely want to put down some cornstarch or powdered sugar. And I just used a straight edge, and I did it about 2 inches, but again, depending on the size of your beehive, how large you want the door. You do want it somewhat large because you are going to pipe buttercream over the edge. So for me, a 2-inch by 2-inch door worked well. And then just take your paring knife and just cut out that piece of that door. Just tap in the edges, and you're just going to put it off to the side until we need it. And then wrap up the rest of that fondant. Make sure you keep that in plastic. Of course, I fiddle with it just a little too much. Now we have the cake out of the refrigerator, so it has not tacky at all. You're going to take that door. You may have to put a little bit of water on the back, but I did not have to because it was a very warm, humid day. So you just take the nicer side and put it out and place it on the cake. And make sure to straighten it out a little bit there. You want to come up about a ½ an inch from the bottom of the cake so that when you do your first piping around there, it's nice and even. Here's where I'm doing the other pastry bag, which I should have done this for you first and had the round tip on the inside. Again, you fold over that cuff because it can get pretty slippery if you get buttercream on the edge. You want that tip just in there, just enough, nice even clip there. So it's a nice even cut on the bag. And then anywhere between the section right there or up to about there. You just want to make sure you don't cut it too far. Get rid of all those little pieces of plastic. And again, you do have to use a constant pressure when you do this, so you want to make sure your bag is super clean. Your buttercream is a little bit chilled, and your hands are not warm, because once your hands start getting warm, the buttercream really starts to get a little too soft and sticky, as you'll see what happens in the video. Just tap it down. Again, it's very important here to make sure you don't have any air pockets in there, because when you're doing your circles, as you'll see, I had an air pocket and we had a little bit of a hole in there in the beehive. So I'm using a turntable. You certainly don't have to, but it does make it a little bit easier. You're going to start piping with your piping tip straight even with your surface and slowly go around. You start at the bottom of the door in the corner and then come around, stop the pressure, and pull off. As you can see, my buttercream's a little bit too warm. And now you're going to start again right next to the door, certainly not on top of it, because you're still going to put another piece around the door. So any little edges there that are not the neatest, you don't have to worry about. And there was the air pocket I was telling you about. You're going to stop again just shy of the front door. And then you're going to go again. You're going to do several runs like this from the bottom up. And then towards the end, we're going to do it from the top down. So I found that was the best way. Whatever works for you, but that's what I found worked for me. And then carefully go around, try to keeping that even pressure. There was the air pocket. So don't panic too much, just kind of smooth that buttercream up as neatly as you can and start off where you stopped. Anytime you have a little oops like that, you can always, especially in this particular cake, pop a little bee there and you never know it was there. Again, with the even pressure going around, stop the pressure at the end, and then pull the bag away. We're still at the top of the doorway, so we can now come all the way around. And your hand is probably getting very tired by now. Stop the pressure and pull away. We're going to make that all nice and neat before we're done. I think I'm going to do one more round before I start from the top down. Again, come on around. Just kind of dropping and pulling that buttercream. And now on the top, you're holding the bag straight up and down and just letting that buttercream fall out. This is sped up a little bit. So, of course, you have a little oops there. And as you come down, it's more difficult to let the buttercream just drop. So you have to slightly tilt the bag to the side. And we had a couple of air pockets there. And again, my buttercream got way too warm. So did my hand. So I should have put it back in the fridge. But for purposes of this video, if you do start having trouble with the buttercream, just pop it in the refrigerator for a few minutes, cool down your hands, and start again. Now you're going to smooth around that doorway. And then take your buttercream, make sure you clean off the tip. And you're just going to make that little arch around the door. And then in this case, we're going to put two little arches. And again, as you can see, that buttercream's a little too soft. We're just going to clean that up a little bit. And then just clean up some of the other areas. Now you're ready for the fun part. Now you're just going to take a look at the cake, and wherever you have a little oops, you want to put your little bees in there. Just keep taking a look at it, and or wherever you'd like them. This little guy I'll put right down at the bottom as if he's waiting to go in. And it's just such a little happy cake. And just put your bees wherever you'd like. You could also do a gender reveal on this cake, and you could have tinted the buttercream on the inside, either pink or blue. That would be a fun option as well. You can also see where I put the luster and disco dust on the bee's wings, and it just gave it a little extra sparkle. I also had a little bit of yellow luster dust on the beehive. Well, I hope you enjoyed this class. I certainly did. Look for this one and more on CandylandCrafts.com. Thanks very much. This was Chef Sue.